Shalom, shalom. Welcome to episode 2 of Life in Introspection. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Saraya. And yeah, I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy to be able to do this again. I truly didn't have a vision when I was a teenager. And so it feels really good to be able to come back to something that I've been waiting to come back to for a very long time. It's been years, really, like years. I've have a family now. I have kids. I a lot of life has happened a lot because of the time. But today's episode is gonna be on identity and just identity and authenticity, going deep into me really because I was talking to my husband on this past Monday, and essentially we had both come to the realization of just some red flags that we had ignored with a particular group that we were in. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll address the elephant in the room for people that know me that might be listening, and they may have noticed I stopped sharing certain things. I stopped communicating with certain individuals. I stopped promoting certain things. And a part of that is because I began to heal. And me and my husband, we really sat down and realized just the things that we ignored and the red flags and instances where there may have been manipulation and gaslighting. But I'm not going to talk about that in this episode. Actually, what that made me think about, I was after we were talking, I was deep in thought. And I remember thinking I just want to be myself. Because when I was in this group, I began to adopt an image because I didn't, and I realized now I didn't have a sense of who I was. I didn't have a sense of identity. Now I'm starting to really find myself, really get comfortable just being me and not trying to be what I think is me or trying to, find my purpose in the way that I show up for other people. I'm really starting to I'm really starting to want to live life for the first time. And in that wanting to live life, I've begun to question who am I at the core outside of everything else? And one of the things that I realized is I don't have this need to show up as Hebrew, as an Israelite, because that was such a big thing for me. I was so proud in that identity, but really it was because I never really felt like I had anything to hold on to. I went through a traumatic childhood. I spent part of my childhood away from my parents, and so I didn't really get to start knowing them until I was older. And even now, my relationship with my mom, I think, has evolved and has changed even when I got back with her in my high school years. I just feel I'm really starting to kind of anchor in my identity. And this was kind of that last piece, I think, going through that, because, one of the things that I have come to terms with is I was in a cult. And so my identity became this. And also I was experiencing spiritual abuse, and what that can do to a person is it can make you question your place, and it can make you doubt yourself and doubt what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. And I didn't even realize how, in many ways, being in that group caused me to kind of box myself in, box my identity in. And I really didn't think it mattered who I was at the core. I fully made my life about the kingdom, which in a way it's not bad to do that. He does say to seek first the kingdom, but I was so about the kingdom. I was so about showing up and just service. And I didn't care about my healing. I didn't care about who I was. I just thought, oh, one day I'll be healed. And when Yeshua returns, then I'll be healed. When Yeshua returns, then maybe, he will give me the permission to pursue my goals and pursue my dreams. And that was something the Most High has shown me, is just like how much my identity became showing up for this group, for this congregation. And I fully had forgotten who I was, what my passions were, what my, dreams and goals were, that now that I understand was actually placed there by the Most High. He never ever asked me to lay those things down. He gave me certain gifts that I began to sit on because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't trust in who he made me to be. I learned to hate myself, to hate, individual characteristics about myself. And then, I began to, you know, pretty much in my making my identity solely my Hebrew identity, I forgot who I was. Like, yeah, I'm an Israelite, but that's not all that I am. It's only a piece of the puzzle. And so, in speaking with my husband, I begin to think deeply, and I'm like, I don't even have a desire to show up as Hebrew to the world. It's probably a conversation starter for sure, but I don't even want to be that. Like, you know, I realize that so many of us, especially because if you know my beliefs and like, especially if you are coming from my other page, like I talk about, how Israelites, we were brought into multiple different parts of the world, and we now are mixed. So like, we don't even look like what our ancestors really looked like. Like, our customs, our traditions, all these things is kind of like morphed into something else, you know. And so I realized I was being a version of something based on what man told me it was. Like, we weren't even authentically walking in being Israelites, at least from my perspective. I think it was kind of this caricature of what being an Israelite was like, but we don't really know. We don't really know how they dressed. We don't really know how they looked. We have no idea what customs were brought in from other nations pretending to be us. We don't know, like, even the language has changed so much. And like, I remember that being such a core in my identity, like, no, this is the truth, this is the truth. And now I'm like, I don't even care if you see me and you see an Israelite. Like, I don't care. I care that I show up as my most authentic self, where you don't look at me and you think I'm pretending or I'm trying hard to be something. Like, now I'm like, I want people to see me and to see Yah in that most authentic version of me, not who I think Yah wants me to show up as. And it made me fall into a rabbit hole, guys. Like, I just was like, wow, like, I really don't care to show up and have this big banner. Yes, look, I'm Hebrew. The Israelites, the lost tribes are still here. Look at me, I'm Hebrew. I don't care to do that. If people ask me, what are you or whatever, like, hey, I claim I'm a Hebrew Nazarene. That's what I pretty much identify as when you look at my faith. I'm a Hebrew Nazarene. And that's what the disciples, when you look into that, that's what they called themselves, Netzarim. So I say I'm Hebrew Nazarene because I believe in the Messiah. I believe in following in the way that he walked. And I'm Hebrew by blood. So I'm not just Hebrew by faith. I'm Hebrew by blood. But that's not all that I am. And that's not all that I want you to see. I want you to see everything that as a people we have. And like, the different cultures over the years, what we've become. Like, I want you to see the beauty in our people and not just this caricature that's been formed by Hebrew Israelite groups and camps and congregations. This is not the true image of us. And that's something that I really truly hope to do. And, it made me think about how so many of us are missing the mark in this movement because we thought we needed to suddenly adopt this image. And I'm realizing too, it's affecting our people from waking up because, we're showing an image that was given by man, this image of what it meant to be an Israelite. You're not an Israelite by how you look on the outside, by your fringes, or by, even as women, our head coverings and our dresses and all. Like, y'all, there's been a debate about whether we should wear dresses or pants. Do you know, I don't care. I'm at the point now, I don't care. I don't care because people out there don't freaking care. They're not looking, oh, I should listen to you because you're wearing fringes. I should listen to you because you look like this version of what it means to be like. I don't care, man. I don't care. It's exhausting for me now to even attempt to. And I realized it added so much pressure to me because there were times where I would be like, bro, I don't even got the money to try to replace my wardrobe and show up like this. And I found it to be just constant, persistent, just driving deeper and deeper into this image. And it really doesn't matter. And I'm realizing y'all doesn't even care. Y'all really doesn't care about that. I know that, as far as going back to the feasts and things like that, I do believe that's important. But if y'all think y'all is caring about the way you're dressing, he's not like this. And I'm talking about the extreme versions of it, like what you see with these camps and congregations. People think they're doing something by showing and shouting in their image to the world that they're an Israelite. What really matters is that we're returning to these commandments and these feasts, and we're remembering our covenant with Yah. That is priority. But man, I don't even have the resources to try to adopt this image and to show it in every single aspect that I'm an Israelite. And I realized that wow, at one point, I was trying so hard to be this. I was trying so hard. And I don't even care anymore to try. Hopefully this air isn't... I'm in my car. I decided I would just go ahead and start recording this because I realized, I'd been kind of procrastinating on this. And the reason why is because I was starting to fall back into that self-doubt again. Is this really something I should do? Will people really care what I have to say? But I realized for if anything, it's important that everybody has a voice and allow the people, those listening, to determine if you are really worth listening to or not. And so, yeah, I'm making this quick little message to say, really talk about authenticity and because I realize a lot of people too are lying to themselves. And it's kind of similar when he says, people will say, Lord, Lord, I cast demons in your name. I've healed in your name. And he says, get away from me, you workers of iniquity. And I think about that. In what ways are we lying to the world in the way that we present ourselves as Israelites, as being an example to the nations? And I realize there's this prideful, haughty spirit rising up in our people where we think that our presentation of being an Israelite is what is going to get people to listen to us or get people to hear what we have to say or even get people to recognize us. And it's not. If anything, we're making a joke out of ourselves trying to play an Israelite. Like, y'all made me realize I don't need to play an Israelite for you to recognize me as that, for you to recognize my identity. I don't care that you see me as an Israelite. And I don't need to wear fringes or stop wearing pants because, I don't know. I'm realizing the exhaustion I have with this because I don't want to act like an Israelite. I am an Israelite. Rather I'm wearing fringes, rather I decide that I'm going to take these commandments to the extreme and follow everything to the T, and without any mistakes, without any, it doesn't freaking matter, dude. I'm realizing that now. And some people, they might end up listening to this and they think I've gone off the deep end and I'm not really a true follower of Messiah. But no, it's just like I'm realizing the trick in this and how people have been deceived, believing what they see, believing in what they hear. Because I was looking at somebody, oh my gosh, it's hot in this car. Okay, let me put it on the max. Oh, it's so hot. Anyways, I'm realizing how I was deceived because I believed in the image of a man. This man was presenting himself as an Israelite. He spoke the Hebrew and he, was so good at teaching. And I desired so desperately to cling to an identity to that because I didn't feel like who I was good enough. I had to adopt this identity. I had to adopt this image in order for me to be worth listening to, in order for me to be believed, in order for my truth to be believed, in who we are as a people and all of that. It literally doesn't matter if you see an Israelite when you look at me. It doesn't matter. What matters is what is my walk like behind closed doors when you don't see me, when I'm not posting, when I'm not talking, and am I actually walking in this truth behind closed doors? Because I can play dress up all I want. I can play the character of an Israelite all I want. But if I'm not living this life behind closed doors, and when I face Messiah, when I face my Creator, they're not going to be like, did you wear your fringes? Or you didn't really look like a Hebrew woman, so get away from me. They're not going to say that. It's going to be about my character. What I did behind closed doors when man wasn't looking. And so many of us, we fall for this trap of what people look like online, how they present themselves as a means to listen to them, as a means to trust them. I want to present myself fully as I am behind closed doors, as I am in front of you. I don't want there to be a distinction. Because I'm realizing that's exactly how we should show up for Yah. So many times we try to approach Yah in a performative manner in our prayers, in our worship. And He truly cares about who you are at your core. And that's literally what opened my eyes, was healing from the opinions, from the lies and the manipulations and the ways that people try to tell me who I am, how they try to make up lies about me and slander me. I'm realizing, hold up, it don't even matter how I present myself, how I try so much to control the image and how people see me. I can't control it. I can show up in the perfect version, what I think is the perfect version of me. And it's not going to matter. People still going to make up lies. They're still going to make up crap. They're not, it doesn't matter. So just be yourself. That's what this message is really about. Show up as yourself. And also show up as yourself with Yah, because you can't even hide it. Like, I thought I was showing up as my most authentic self with my Abba, my Heavenly Father. I thought that. And as I began to heal, he began to open my eyes like, no, you've been lying to yourself. You didn't even know who you are. You didn't know anything about yourself. Let me unveil you to you so you can see who you are. And do you know what I saw? I saw that I was trying so hard to show up as a version that people will accept and that people will love. I used to be, I used to speak without fear of what people would think about me. I used to show myself on camera without fear. I used to take pictures of myself without fear. And do you know, over the years, I began to hide. I began to cover myself and not want to show up as myself because I was so afraid of rejection. I was so afraid that I wouldn't receive love and people wouldn't want me in their lives because of abandonment wounds and things I didn't heal and deal with. And when Yah showed me, like, I don't even care if you show yourself as Hebrew. I'm like, what? That doesn't matter to you? No, it doesn't. Because I spent all these years not showing. You think this little bit of let me adopt this image. No, he doesn't care about that. And I realize people don't even care about that. As a matter of fact, when you're performative, when you perform, people can smell the BS from a mile away. Here I was thinking, oh, I'm finally being myself. It's just this, because when you look at Hebrew culture, when you look at the scriptures from the perspective of an Israelite, it's different. God, it's so hot in here. Oh, why did I choose the car? I should have chose somewhere else. I think I'm going to just finish this recording later because I feel like I can't even focus now.
3 hours later.
All right, y'all. I am back hours later. Like, 2-3 hours later. So it's nighttime. The sun isn't beaming down on my car anymore, which means I don't have to turn on the AC and have a bunch of air blowing in this audio. So hopefully it's clearer audio, and I guess I'll just work in the future to make it clearer. So bear with me. I'm so sorry, guys. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. But yeah, going back to what I was saying though about, viewing the scriptures from the perspective of an Israelite, it completely changes your viewpoint, and it really changes your viewpoint about this walk. Actually, I feel like I need to go back and listen to what I said so I know where I was going with this, because I don't even know where I was going with this. So give me 1 second. Okay, I know where I was going. Yeah, when you look at the scriptures from the perspective of an Israelite, like, especially when you're learning, this is like, people don't understand what this is for our people. Like, when you look at American history, there is a difference between the history they give us and like the actual true history. And so we've been sold this version of our identity that was told by our oppressors, and nobody questioned anything, nobody corrected anything. And so coming into this truth and then following the scriptures from the perspective of an Israelite, and then trying to adopt and be in covenant with the Most High, like, it can feel like, okay, like I'm finally getting to this version of myself that feels like me. But man, it still didn't feel like me. And I kept feeling this resistance, and I would feel so guilty about it because I'm like, this is supposed to be my history. And why do I still feel lost? And it wasn't until I really, really, truly, which honestly, y'all forced me to heal. Like, I was just thrown into it because, like, after the birth of my son, like, just a lot of stuff started to come up, stuff that I never thought to deal with. And it's like I'm getting all these memories and things coming back, and I was forced to heal. And in my being forced to heal, it's like I started to realize, like, oh no, I'm performing. I didn't know I was performing my being an Israelite. I didn't know. I really didn't know. And because you, like I said, when you're learning the truth and you are reading the scripture from the perspective of an Israelite, and you're thinking about your ancestors and what they might have thought and what they might have felt, it can feel very much like you need to become this version of yourself that makes your being an Israelite valid. But I'm in this space now where it doesn't matter. People can mock me. People can laugh and say, "Oh, I'm pretending." They'd like to do that when Black people are talking about our indigenous history on this land too. They try to say, "Oh, we're always trying to make everything Black," and it's like, no. It's that our people, the world even, has been in on this massive lie on how our history, our culture, our lands, everything was stolen from us. And in some ways, we kind of willingly gave it away because we trusted, right? But this stuff was taken. And so when you're getting it back, it can very much feel liberating for a time. But if it's something that you never knew for your entire life, and then you're coming into it trying to adopt this truth and you're performing it, like, that was very much my reality because I already didn't heal. I already didn't have a sense of my identity. And so here I am being in this group of people trying to be something that I don't even fully understand or grasp because, our culture too, we like to hold on to labels, And for me, I there was a time I used to think I was like non-binary. Or at least I entertained the thought. I didn't really adopt it, but I remember like going through this even in high school, trying to find myself and trying to find my sense of identity and try to anchor it somewhere, you know. And I don't know where I was going with that. This happens to me a lot too. I'll lose my thoughts. Oh my gosh, where I was going with that. Yeah, I was trying to find a sense of my identity and anchor it somewhere. And oh, I remember. I was trying to anchor it somewhere. And, there was a time where, a lot of these trans, non binary, asexual, all these different like things. I remember because I grew up like as a tomboy, you can kind of see it in my videos. Like, it was clear I was like a tomboy, but like, I remember not even feeling in tune with my own femininity. And so there was a time I felt like, could I be non-binary? Because they were making these terms and making these labels for things, describing the human experience. And now we need a label. And so I almost adopted that. I almost did. But do you know what stopped me? It was the realization that I did not want to be put in a box. And I felt like I don't need to be non-binary to like both feminine and masculine things. Like, that's just a part of me. I just like doing things the guys do. I like doing things the girls do too. I like playing games. Shooting is kind of fun. I don't know, driving really fast. Racing is fun. Like, getting my nails done. It's fun. Like, I noticed I had these different characteristics about myself where I never truly could really fit myself anywhere. And when it came to that label of non-binary, I remember I didn't adopt it because I felt like it's so stupid that I need a label in order to describe my own sense of being. So I rejected it because I'm like, I'm not less of a woman just because I like things that guys like. Like, that doesn't make me any less of a woman because I just happen to be a bit more like interested in not the typical things that women are interested in. But I do have interests that women have too. So it was like, it's like I'm not less of myself. And I don't need to prove my femininity just because my interests are different. And that's kind of how I feel right now about my own identity in all aspects and how I present myself to the world. It's really like I just want to be me. I don't like this is who I am. And like, I've even, some people will say, okay, but like, why don't you just go by your name? I choose to go by Saraya because, you know, that has kind of helped me to see my value. When Yah gave me this name Saraya, which means princess of Yah, I remember this feeling came over me. And I was like, that's how you view me? At the time, I had just gotten immersed in the true names, and I remember I was like, what? That's how Yah views me? And it completely, like, it's been an anchor for me to remember how Yah views me. So that's why I choose to keep this name, is because I went so long in my life feeling like a waste, feeling like I didn't matter, that I had no value, not even seeing a point in living, going day to day, just existing, but not really truly living in this experience. And, you know, and accepting and trusting that even when bad things are happening, that it doesn't mean I'm any less of a person. At the time, I still hated myself. I still didn't, I couldn't look myself in the mirror. And so when Yah gave me this name, that became an anchor for me. Like, no, that's how he views me. And so, yeah, I could go by my name, but honestly, Sadaya just feels like, no, that's who I am. That's how my father views me. And so that's why I go by that. And that very much feels like who I am, truly. So yeah, I am making this for anyone else. Maybe you're in the truth. Maybe you're not in the truth. I want you to know you need to show up as you first, not as this image of what you think you should show up as. Because as I said earlier, I see it all the time. Performative. A lot of people in this faith walk are performing their faith. They're not being it. They're not being who they are and showing who they really are and how Yah has changed them and has molded them into a better version of themselves. So if I don't do anything right, my prayer is that as I continue to show more of myself online, I continue to share more messages, that people will see me and then they'll see Yah. And I'm not saying like I want to be first. Please don't twist my words. What I am saying is I want people to see who I am completely and then see how Yah has just carried me and made me this version of myself that I never knew was possible. Because there's people right now that are probably listening that know me personally. I want you to see me and be like, what? That's what he did for you? I'm looking at you, but I don't even recognize this version of you, even though I know it's you. What did Yah do? What? This version of you, I don't understand. I can't comprehend this change. Like, I want people to see, like, no, I am still fully myself. And yet Yah has taken me into just this amazing place where I can share the truth of who he is. And people can see, like, yes, that really is Yah. Because I remember what she was. I remember how she looked, how she walked, how she talked, and all these things. And yet, look, and people will know it's not fake. And they will know I'm not performing. And that this truly is what Yah has done for me. So I really, truly pray that this inspires you to be yourself, show up as yourself. When I first came into this walk, I remember I told y'all, like, one, I asked him because I was suffering and I didn't even truly know, why am I suffering like this? You know, I was sad. I was so depressed and I was like, why am I like this? And so I asked him and I prayed and I asked him to show me. And that's why actually a lot of my memories started to come back, is because I asked for it. So be careful what you ask for. But the other thing is, I did not come to him in this performative way. And I pray that I never change. I really pray that, like, I keep the same way I've always approached him. I've always approached him raw and truthfully. If I was angry, of course I was respectful. But if I was angry, he knew. Actually, there was a time I was disrespectful. I remember I was upset with him and I told him, like, this is why nobody believes in you. Because I was trying to force something that I wasn't even ready for. But I've always approached Yah with truth. If I truly didn't know, I would tell him, Yah, I don't know. But please reveal it. Please show me the true way that I should go, the way I should be walking. I asked him for truth. I said, I don't want to do this religious stuff. I told him I wanted something authentic and I wanted something real. And I told him I want to have a relationship with you, myself, not through a religion, not through other people. And I still stand in that. You have to approach him in truth and authenticity. People think they have to stop their sin or they have to be this perfect version. If you are still knee deep in your sin, but you are like, yeah, I want a relationship with you, but this is me. I'm coming to you just like this. I'm telling you, he would rather have that version of you than a performative version of you pretending to be a saint, pretending to be righteous. He wants the raw because he can fix that. Anything that needs to be made better in your life about you, he will fix it, but he's not asking you to be somebody else or who you think he wants you to be. Because I kid you not, a lot of your gifts, a lot of your talents, a lot of your dreams, your goals, those things that you've had since you were a child, before sin even became a topic of discussion, before you started to get tempted with the world and you started to dabble in things, those things that made you who you are, the core of who you are, he placed it there. So he wants you to show up as you so he can clean up the things that are not for your benefit. But he never asked us to be something that we're not. And that's what I realized in my healing. It's like, wow, y'all didn't, I had a thing with people pleasing. And so I thought in order to please Yah, when he says deny yourself and all of this stuff, I really truly thought I didn't matter. But I realized after the fact, and as Yah began to reveal to me through my healing, like, no, I never asked you to not be yourself. I made you like that. All these little quirks and little things that make you you, I made you like that. I didn't ask you to stop being you. I'm just telling you, hey, if you do this, you're going to cause yourself harm. If you sin in this way, that's going to affect your kids. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your personality. I put that there for a reason. And a lot of you are like that. You are diminishing aspects of yourself when you need to show your uniqueness. You need to show who you are. So people, when they look at you and this walk, they can say, oh, I wanna walk with the Most High too. I think I wanna try that his way. Because they'll see they don't need to pretend to be a saint. You don't need to. That cleaning up, that happens over time. If you truly, truly have, I'm not talking about people that just do this because they view him as a genie. They think if I just do all the right things, I'll get everything I want. No. I'm talking to the people that genuinely, yeah, you're in your sin, but you genuinely want to know the Father. You genuinely want a relationship with him. I'm telling you, you don't need to have it figured out. Because I didn't. All I knew was I wanted a relationship. I remember I told him exactly that. I want to know you. I want to know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I remember I told him verbatim those words. Now I said, I don't want to do this religion stuff. I want to know you personally. They say, all these Christians are saying, I can have a relationship with you. I want a relationship with you. And yes, it was hard, man. Took a lot to get here. But he never once asked me to be a version of myself that I am not. And so I want you to know that for you too, to be yourself and approach him as yourself. You know, in churches, they'll say, come as you are. And, that's been kind of like abused. People think they don't need to change, but it's true. Come exactly as you are, because you're not hiding anything from him anyways by pretending, by performing. He sees the parts that you forgot that were there. He sees them. And he exposes them in time. So come as you are. You don't need to perform. Because ultimately, you make it harder when you're performing. When you're lying to yourself, you make it a lot harder to get to that place of closeness and intimacy with the Father when you're trying to be something that you're not, when you're performing. And honestly, he says it like his yoke is easy. He never asked us to do a walk like that's what makes this walk difficult. And I'll tell you the truth about this. It's not trying to follow the commandments or the feasts, or that's not what makes this walk difficult. With sin comes curses, comes doors that need to be closed, comes, affects generational curses, things that can affect your children and your children's. So the hardest thing is breaking those things and reversing and going back to the path that he laid out for us. So as you begin to break things off, you start to lose family, you start to lose friends, you start to lose the things that you thought made you you. But really, those things don't make you who you are. Who you are is who you were before you were even born. When he made us, when we were written about before we were ever born, every single one of you, you're written about in the heavenly realms. Before you were born, he already knew everything about you. He already knew you. He says it. So that is the version that needs to show up to him in full truth. Hey, this is who I am. Yeah, I'm not right. Yeah, I'm dirty. I'm filthy. I've done horrible things in my life. But I want a relationship with you. And I need your help. Can you clean me up? Can you make me new? Can you make me better? Help me to walk in the way that you called me to walk. Show up as you. And I promise you that the quicker you do that, no games, no pretending, just this is who I am. And I lay it all at your feet. Cleanse me, wash me. When you show up as that, he can do real work And the work, I'm telling you, you will be so amazed. You'll be so surprised because you'll realize, oh my goodness, all those the shame, it goes away because you realize the things that you thought he really wanted from you is not at all what you thought. And a lot of times that image, that version of Yah that we have in our minds, it's not real. That's not who he is. And if it's like this super like negative like thing where you have to be afraid, you have to tremble and be afraid to approach him, like, yeah, we have to respect him. And that Old Testament version of him, he's still there. Like, he can still, like, yuck, he want all the smoke. He ain't afraid of nobody. Like, he controls this thing, right? So, of course, that version of him exists, but that is the one that does true justice when people are being harmed. And, like, even that version of him is twisted. Like, he's a father. Wouldn't you want your father to show up and go to war for you when he's seeing injustices happening in your life or in other people's lives? I know I would. So even that version of him is twisted. No, he's a father and he takes care of his children. He goes to war for us. So he's not somebody that you cannot. He's so approachable. He's so patient. He's so understanding. And one of the things that I really got in the habit of doing is when I would feel like this resistance to him, I would just ask him for a perspective shift. And so, in closing, if you've made it this far, I appreciate you. In closing, go to the Father and fully show him who you are so he can make you and change you into who he created you to be. And I promise when you surrender to that process, you will feel so free. You'll feel so free because you'll realize, a lot of those burdens, a lot of those barriers that you placed on yourself, they weren't real. They weren't coming from him. Okay? Like it didn't come from him. I promise you, you will feel so free in being yourself, but you'll also acknowledge how to fight in the spiritual war against the flesh and the spirit and sin and temptation and all that. You'll fully understand how to do that because you'll know who you are, not who you became because of sin and because of trauma and all that. No, you will know exactly who you are and you will fully walk in that. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And I thank you if you've made it this far, truly, I appreciate you so much because it's scary coming out in faith and doing and walking in obedience. It can be scary, especially if you went so long not listening and being afraid. But when you finally take that leap of faith, like, man. So I'm so thankful if you have been listening. And I pray that you'll continue to listen. I pray that you'll subscribe and that you'll share the message. If you feel like this is something that other people need to hear, please share it because ultimately I'm not doing this for myself. This is the Father's work and he's trying to reach his people. And that starts with showing the truth about who he is and why he created us. And so I hope that becomes more visible as I begin to do more and more episodes. But I love you guys. So much love for you. And I'll see you in the next one. It's also Shabbat. So Shabbat Shalom for anybody that is listening on the Shabbat. It just turned, it's Friday right now. So yeah, Shabbat Shalom. And I'll see you in the next episode.